Pantoufleee! Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're gonna see the top 5 worst tech tree tanks, at least in my opinion. You know, the kind of tank that when you finally reach them, you're in fear, you don't want to play them. You're just upset about getting them because you would rather play either the bottom tier or the tier after, but you don't have the choice. And these tanks, oh boy, are they gonna be a nightmare for you, and there is the list. The first one on the list, at least for me, is the STA-1, the Japanese tier 8 medium tank. I simply hate this tank for multiple reasons. The first one is probably the lack of armor. I mean, a lot of tanks have a lack of armor, but when it's the case, usually these tanks have a good mobility. Here, it's not the case. You're slow, you don't have a good reload, you don't have a good alpha damage, you don't have armor. The only thing you have is the gun depression, which is pretty much useless because your mobility doesn't allow you to pick a book quite effectively. Clearly, the kind of tanks I never want to play, and I just take my credit card and grind the tier 9 straight away. This is simply one of the worst, if not the worst, medium tank at tier 8 in my opinion. Premiums included. And another tank that I really hate is the AMX AC-48, and there are several reasons. The first one is the number of weak spots the tank is carrying, because unlike the Foch 155 or even the Foch that has the same weak spot at the front, the two cupolas, here they are extremely easy to penetrate and you don't even need a good penetration to go through. For example, on the Foch 155, even if you shoot straight at it, you have chances of bouncing. With this one, no, these weak spots are made of paper and it's a nightmare for you to work effectively on the reach line because you can't really use the great armor the tank has at the front because everybody will shoot your weak spots, which are as huge as a freaking tumor. So yeah, clearly not a good tank, a tank you want to... No, I was about to say maybe a tank you want to keep in your garage, but let's face it, nobody wants to play this tank, it's garbage, so you should just sell it in order to get the Foch, which is clearly better. Alright, sticking to the French tank destroyer, we can talk about the tier 6, the ARL-39. What is the problem with this tank? I have two. The first one is probably the huge cupola you have. You're gonna say we don't care because the tank already has a bad armor. Yes, but the cupola is penetrable with HE. Therefore, it makes the whole tank pretty much useless in its concealment because everybody is gonna shoot at you with HE, at least if they know how to penetrate. And it's gonna be extremely frustrating for you to deal with it on frontline because you're gonna die sooner than expected. That's the first thing. Also, one last thing, the tank is extremely small and lightly armored. Therefore, when you take a shot from KV-1S, from Smash Off, or from any kind of tanks that has a big alpha damage, they have a really great chances to simply kill one of your crew members or knock something in your tank, and it's extremely frustrating playing this way. So you have to play it sneaky, you have to wait for your team to push, you're not independent, and the kind of tanks I hate, let's face it. Alright, now talking about another tank, you take the ARL V39, you remove the mobility, you add a really bad traverse speed, and you obtain the AT-8. This tank is simply garbage because you have the same weak spot problem as the one we have on the ARL V39, but the main problem here is that you're extremely well armored, but you're not going to be able to make that armor effective as long as you don't hide that huge cupola you have on top of the tank. And the second problem is probably the mobility. If you fail choosing a side at the beginning of the battle and you realize you need to go on the other side, let's face it, you will not make it. It's impossible. You will have to wait for your whole team to get destroyed before you manage to turn around and get into the enemy tanks. That's a huge problem because it makes this tank extremely dependent on skill, at least for the player, because you need to have map knowledge, etc. And if you don't have it, you're gonna have a nightmare grinding this one. And finally, the top one of this list, the most garbage tank I've ever played in my goddamn life, it's this one, the 87. It's still in the same branch as the 88, of course, that leads to the FV183, but here You take all the disadvantage I just talked about for the 88, but you add one thing, the fact that the gun is not at the center of the tank. It makes it extremely hardcore if you don't get the right side of the map for you, like it's the case here. If I had the opposite side of the map, it shouldn't be a problem for me to be able to sneak around, get my shots done without really showing my cupola. But if you don't have the right side for you, it's simply a nightmare because you can't hide your cupola, you can't try to sneak shots without exposing this huge thing you have at the top of the tank, which makes it one of the most uncomfortable tanks to ever play in World of Tanks Blitz. So really be careful about that when you are grinding 88 and 87 because your grind is gonna be a nightmare. So now tell me, what are the worst tech tree tanks in your opinion? Feel free to tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and to join the backup channel as well in case this one gets copy striked. I hope you enjoyed and I hope to see you soon in my next video.